You're now tuning in to the hottest sports talk podcast on the East Coast, The Right Way Network, with hosts Austin Mio and Malik Wright. Be sure to follow the team on social media at The Right Way Network on Facebook, at The Right Way Network on Instagram, and at The Right Way Net on Twitter. And remember, there's only one way to get all your sports updates, and that is The Right Way.
Welcome to another episode of The Right Way, here live on Blog Talk Radio, produced by the Right Way Sports Network. I am your host, CEO of the Right Way Sports Network, Malik, right? I am here joined by my co-host, Austin Mayo. Austin, I am absolutely excited for tonight's podcast. I don't know about you, man, but I literally had 3 cups of coffee today, and I was telling everybody, tonight is the night. I'm so excited we get to have Brandon Copeland on for the interview. I'm just excited, man. I've been waiting for this podcast for quite some time. So Austin, are you ready?
Yeah, I am ready as a Jets fan. I mean, you're just a Bengals fan, but as a Jets fan, to get to talk to one of my players, I am just too excited. So that's what I want to do right now. So I'd like to introduce to the podcast. He has just been so great with us as we've been trying to schedule this in. He just re-signed with the New York Jets. He is a UPenn football alumni. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, Brandon Copeland.
How y'all doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming, Brandon. We are just over the moon to be talking to you today, and let's get right into it. So the draft, just finished up recently, but we kind of want to talk a little bit, kind of going through your history through football, and that's beginning with your days playing at the Gilman School. Can you talk a little bit about the recruitment process from your high school playing days to UPenn, and more specifically, what made you choose UPenn over other schools?
Yeah, I think that, for me personally, I was a late bloomer on the field. So coming out of high school, looking at college, I always wanted to play big-time football. I remember going and I wanted to play Syracuse. I don't know why, but that was my dream school at the time. And then after that, I, figured let me go to a school that has a bit more, academic clout. No offense to Syracuse folks out there, but I was like, let me think about a UVA or something like that. And then the third to final game of my senior season, I actually got hurt. I got injured. Nothing too crazy. My football coach put me out on the field in kick return, and one of my own teammates fell on my ankle. It popped. I'm limping around. I'm like, okay, this is what everybody means when they say, hey, you're literally one play away from this being taken away. So for me, that's what made me decide to go to a school like Penn, where if that happened to me in college and I couldn't play for whatever reason, then, hey, at least I have this degree, and, everybody around me is telling me that it means something special, so let me do it and see where that can take me.
And then going off of that, so you go to school at the Wharton School at UPenn, and that is one of the most difficult competitive schools, in the United States, even in the world. What's it like being a student athlete with an Ivy League course load?
Yeah, cool, man. I'm trying to figure it out. I saw it from a different lens this past semester, I guess, but to be quite honest, it just forces you to balance, not even balance, it just forces you to organize your schedule as much as possible. I think that there's times at Penn, for example, where, on our championship week against Harvard, you got guys who are running off the field to hurry up and running off the practice field to shower up and get up to a final or a final exam for the semester or something like that, right? So I just always thought that it was like pretty ironic that on like the most important game of the year, we're being challenged to study the night before, study like every other student, but we don't have the extra free time to, study up or cram before the big test because we're actually on the field preparing for the biggest game of our lives at that time, right? Which, I mean, coming full circle, it probably has helped me tremendously now with being able to compartmentalize and flip one switch on and be on the football field and flip another switch and be, a house flipper. So.
Yeah, and then so you leave UPenn football. You guys, as a team, are 3-time Ivy League champions, and then individually, you're a 3-time first-team All-Ivy selection. So overall, those 4 years, can you just talk about some of your, your greatest memories and what was it like being a 4-year college football player?
Yeah, man. I always joke with the guys in the locker room that we were the Alabama of the Ivy League, man, and that we would whoop on any of their teams. But no, it was an awesome time to be there, man. I think I came in with a competitive group of guys, and that was actually one of the reasons why I decided to go to Penn, is because I remember being on the official visit and meeting the other guys and just thinking, like, wow, like, if we all come here, this could be something pretty special. I remember all of us talking about, hey, like, let's try to run the table. And that was before we ever were officially students at Penn. So to go there and do that, if you ask anybody in my class, we came in there in 2009, left in 2013. I think, to speak to that competitive mindset, the one thing that they will remember or will be probably the one championship we lost and how bad we want to have that fourth ring. Right, so that just described the class. We worked our tails off to be great. We, obviously it's Ivy League football, so a lot of people might downplay it, but it was competitive football, and there's a lot of guys that are in the league in the NFL from that era, and so it was a great time to be an athlete, and also a great time to be at Penn because, anybody from that time, we have bragging rights clearly. So
yeah, exactly.
Those games, and that's all that matters, right? That's what they remember.
Absolutely. Now I got a different question for you. I'm a big NFL guy, Brandon, a huge NFL guy. What were your expectations going into the 2013 NFL draft? Because you get these guys they clear for the NFL draft and they get pulled in so many different directions. They hear. They see I know they've got to see all the different mock drafts out there where people have them penciled in at. What was your experience like? What did you expect?
Yeah, no, for me, I expected to be undrafted, to be quite honest with you. And then I think by the end, like right before the draft, we had some excitement about potentially going 6th or 7th round, and I think that was like cool to think about at the time, but looking back on it, I was projected to be undrafted. I never thought that I thought I should be drafted. Of course, I think every person thinks that they should be drafted or considered, or they covet that, one of these teams reaching out and wanting them early, so to speak. But, I remember my conversations in the winter as we prepared for the draft and training and stuff. I projected to be undrafted. I wanted to put myself in a position where in the last minute, I could be drafted, and I felt like I did. I definitely did. However, also during the middle of my training, I tore my meniscus 6 weeks before my pro day. So, that was my first injury, like real injury and surgery and all of that type of stuff. And to have that happen, just a few weeks before a pro day and on a knee, it was tough. But again, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'm just, I think being undrafted, again, even though I say that I expected to be undrafted, I remember when I got that call and I was going to my hometown and playing for the Ravens, and I remember having the biggest chip on my shoulder. And so I think that that's something that, you'll never be able to, no one will ever be able to take away from me. And, the trials and the quote-unquote trials, the things you look at as obstacles at one time, I always looked at as like, these are the things that God is putting in my path or not even putting in my path. These are not even tests. These are the opportunities God is giving me to strengthen myself so that I can be here 7 years later, right? Like,
absolutely.
I'm talking to Leonard Williams today, and I'm asking him, I'm like, how many years you've been in? And he's like, this is year 5. He's like, what about you? I'm like, this is year 7. He's like, oh, you know, like, he's like shocked and like happy for me, like, oh, you're a big vet, like you're a vet, right? Like,
you're a
yeah,
vet,
like,
right?
So again,
you're right.
So like, I don't know if that happens without the chip, right? Without the
for sure
sitting out year 2 and all of this type of stuff, right? So,
but you know, Brandon, I look at you, right, and I say to myself, you are the story of you know, you hear a lot of coaches who get up in front of their teams, you know, after they get drafted, and they say, it's not where you get drafted, it's not who you get drafted by, it's what you do when you get here. And I look at you as an inspiration for everyone, for those, if we have anybody who went undrafted who is listening, for those people who did go undrafted, it's not, you could be a first-round pick, you could be a second-round pick. Guess what? I know first-round picks that careers who didn't pan out in the NFL. And I also know undrafted players who did pan out well. And you're, you know, to me, Brandon, I look at you as such an inspiration. I know Austin had another question for you, but I just wanted to make sure I plugged that in there.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Hopefully you tell these coaches that, you know, hopefully they feel the same way about me.
Absolutely. Hey, Cincinnati, if Cincinnati's listening, I'm not saying nothing. I can't say anything.
No. The Jets are going to have you. So Brandon, after playing for Baltimore, and then you have a short stint with the Titans, you participated in a very unique thing that I think even some of the top NFL researchers probably don't know too much about. Can you talk a little bit about how you participated in the inaugural NFL Veterans Combine, and how was your prep different this time around than when you were prepping for your pro day the first time around?
Yeah, I think so. The Veteran Combine, again, you talk about God and opportunities that He puts in front of you.
Absolutely.
So my first year I was practice squad. Second year I was 2 weeks on the practice squad and then cut. And for anybody listening who doesn't know what cut means, it means fired. It means you don't have a job. It means you're unemployed, right? And trying to get back on the team for the rest of the season. So that's another 15 weeks. I'm trying to get back on the team, doing various workouts, but not sticking anywhere, not making any roster, not making any money, debating whether I go back or I go try to fall back on this degree or give myself another year to play football. So the Veteran Combine has never happened before this point, and this was the first spring it was happening. I gave myself a year as of January 1st, 2015 to get back into the NFL, and if not, then I was like, I got to pack my bags and hang up the cleats, so to speak, even if I have a sour taste in my mouth type of thing. What I did was I gave myself a year, so I signed up for arena football. I always told myself out of Penn, I had to humble myself, I always told myself out of Penn that I had never signed up for any other league besides the NFL. The NFL or nothing. But at that point in time, when you get desperate, you're like, okay, well, I do what I need to do, right? So CFL is a 2-year agreement, 2-year lockup, so I couldn't do that because I'm only giving myself a year to get back into the league. I signed up for arena football because I can leave that whenever. It's a year, right? But it'll give me film, give me a chance. Long story short, I'm down there for 3 days. I try to get into this Veteran Combine. They take 100 players, I believe over like 1,100 applied. It was all former players, guys who have been in the NFL. They only took 100 players, and they were going to give them all a chance to basically run through a combine with scouts and stuff there and see who they wanted to sign and who they didn't. I did not get invited to the Veteran Combine, so I'm flying down to the Orlando Predators. I signed up to play arena ball, and literally I unpack my suitcase. I literally lay out all of my stuff. I lay it into the drawers, and I literally lay down onto the bed, and I hear that ding, that ding, or whatever sound makes when you get a new email. And I look at it, and it's like, hey, you've been accepted into the Veterans Combine. I'm like, what the hell, right? Crazy how God works.
Yes.
So I remember calling my coach immediately and being like, listen, like, I just, I hate to do this to you, but I just know that I've trained this entire year, not just for this combine, but just to be ready to play ball. And I can't risk going through a training camp with you guys and messing up a shoulder or messing up an ankle and then not performing my best, because I'm only here to get into the NFL. Fortunately, he understood. I stayed out.
Brandon, are you still there? I think we're having some technical difficulties right now.
Yeah, it looks like the call might have dropped. We're going to get him back in here, guys. That's New York Jets starting linebacker Brandon Copeland. Here he is. He's back calling in. Hey, Brandon, you there?
Yeah, sorry. I'll pick up where I left off. That happens in football. Things get dropped. But guess what?
Yep.
We stay flexible. We stay ready. So I fly to train for this veteran combine. I apologize to the audience out there, but I fly to get ready for this veteran combine. And the first day, so we're there for 2 days. We're in Arizona. The first day, the head scout stands up and says, hey, like, basically we're going to cut all of the drills and stuff for tomorrow. We're just going to run the 40 and do a couple position drills. We're not going to do bench and jumps. Basically, the scouts feel like we've seen you guys already. We're tired of being here. And if you guys were any good, you'd already be in the league, right? So we're going to cut everything. So we're all just sitting there at dinner like, damn, well, geez, I mean, you just told us how you felt. Like, I guess this was a waste of time. Like, you know. But next day I go out and I literally just have the day of my life at the office. I ran a 4.51 laser. I remember it's not like the combine where you can look up and see your score and all that type of stuff, but I run my first 40, and I remember trying to, like, at the end, jog back and, like, look at the coaches and scouts to see what they were, you know, if they were saying good things or bad things. And then I remember I couldn't really get a read, you know, being nervous and all that stuff. Then I run my second 40, and I start to see some people, like, you know, showing each other their times and stuff, but you don't know whether that's good or bad. And then when I walked off the field, one of my college teammates, there we go, Penn, looking out for me, came up to me. He was a scout with the Eagles at the time, and he was like, hey, like, man, you just ran your tail off. And he was like, you know, I had 4.49 on my thing. You know, a couple other people had 4.4s, but, you know, but I think they're saying like 4.5, 4.53, 4.51, 4.49. I'm not sure, but great, right? Like, and I just remember just, you know, playing it off like, man, like, I've been working hard, all that type of stuff. And then as soon as I turned my back and, like, was walking to the field to do the drills, I'm just smiling, like, just like, okay, like, but in true football fashion and in true undrafted free agent fashion, and really just in true, sadly, I'm going to go ahead and refer to myself in third person. I don't typically do this, but in true Brandon Copeland fashion, it was like, okay, straighten up. We still have work to do, right? We're not done yet. We've got these drills. So go out there, do the drills, and then I just remember at the end of the drills, I went from, before that, 0 teams were offering me, right? I'm signing up for arena ball, and at that point, 7 scouts were standing in line to talk to me. And then from that event, 16 teams ended up offering me a spot on their roster. So, you know, for me, it was like a beautiful thing in terms of, one, the way God works, right? Only 2 players out of that whole 100, well, actually 3 now. Another Penn guy who was in that event is actually with the Carolina Panthers now, but he had to go do CFL for a couple years, and then he got back into the league. But from that event, that time, there were only 2 guys who actually made it to rosters, and I was one of the 2. So it just tells you, you know, people always tell you stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I was fortunate that I did just that.
And then, so now you're, you know, last season you started 10 out of 16 games for the New York Jets. You posted 35 tackles and 5 sacks. So can you talk about, you know, now you finally have a team where, you know, you just played a full NFL season, but now you have, you know, Adam Gase and Greg Williams at the helm. Can you talk a little bit about what the Jets' expectations are this year and how this incoming draft class with, you know, Quinn and Williams and a couple new guys on the defensive side of the ball, you know, what is the expectations for the defense, and what is the team talking about this year? What are we thinking, you know, as fans, how far this team's going to go?
Yeah, man. I think this is a very exciting building to be in right now. I'm not going to put record expectations and all of that type of stuff, those type of headlines out, but personally, me and I think this team, you know, I think we're really at a great point where we have some great leadership from a coaching standpoint and who's bringing a totally different mindset to us, which I'm very excited about. And so I'm excited for fans to come watch us play, to feed off of the energy, and not just meaningless energy, you know, but for us to be in games that really matter and to have that natural passion and energy out there, right? Not just yelling just to yell, but to really be battling out there. And so I'm excited from that standpoint. And then, you know, one of the things I've understood for some time in my life, but really going to take heed in this season, especially, is, you know, one of my coaches in college used to always say, if you are so worried about the finish line, then you trip over the rock on your way to the finish line, right? So for me, instead of worrying about week 14, week 15, right? I know we played Baltimore, for example, my hometown city, right? My first team I was ever on. You know, I know we played them later in the season. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about my sack totals for the year. I'm literally just worried about my first one, right? I'm worried about my first tackle, my first sack, my first TFL, my first special teams tackle. I'm worried about one at a time. And then once I get to number one, then and only then will I focus all of my energy and might on getting another one. And then I will do a repeat and repeat and repeat. And I think if we do that as a defense and if we do that as an offense, then you're not worried about stuff that doesn't matter, right? What does it matter if I get 10 sacks or 5 sacks or 12 sacks or 25 sacks if we're losing, right? What's more important is being in the moment and being in the game and knowing how to just take control of that specific opportunity, that specific down in front of you. And if we can do that as a team, then we'll be okay.
Absolutely.
And then, Brandon, final question before we transition. We just talking a little bit about, you know, your business and education and your camps and everything. But we have one more football question before we get to that, and that is a little bit of a fun one. A bunch of Jets fans wanted us to ask this. What are your thoughts and what are your team's thoughts on the new uniforms for the Jets? Because it's been a little controversial with the debut and everything like that. What is the overall consensus amongst the team right now?
Great question. No, I think the team is excited about it. I think they are different. They're very, very different uniforms. I will be very proud to wear them on week one. Sure. And I think that there's actually uniforms that will, you know, to be quite honest, personally, at the first, I wasn't really, I wasn't flabbergasted about them or anything like that. But they have grown on me thus far, right? Even the helmet color and stuff like that, like it's grown on me already. So I think that, you know, just give us some time, Jets Nation, and anything looks good when you're winning. So I'm excited to put them on. I definitely think the all black and all white are very, very, very cold.
The all black
they
are nice.
Look great.
Yeah.
But again, I think the green is growing on me. The helmet, the new helmet, and everything is growing on me. So I would just say, Jets Nation, just hold on.
You guys want to know something? And I can't believe I'm saying this. And I know Austin's loving it because he's a Jets fan. And those of you who have listened to us on the podcast for years at the time, you guys know I'm a huge Bengals fan, an absolutely nuts Bengals fan. I'm scared of the New York Football Jets this year. I am scared. You're talking about they're going to roll out a defense. Quentin Williams, Ja'Kai Polite, Blake Cass. I mean, what? Brandon, they just brought in C.J. Mosley. They just signed the guy from the Pittsburgh Steelers and Le'Veon Bell. This New York Jets football team is scary, and it's stacked. And I think if you're a Jets fan, I'm not a Jets fan, right? But I'm a Brandon Copeland fan, and I'm going to be rooting for you, man. I really, really am.
I appreciate it.
I'll be at the. I'm so much of a Brandon Copeland fan that I'll be at the Jets versus Cincinnati game this year. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh
there
yeah.
We go. There we go.
But we had another fan question, Brandon. Now we want to get into before we get into your business endeavors and everything that you've got going on outside the NFL. Do you have any rituals or traditions, any game day traditions that you do on a daily basis before a game?
No, man. I used to. To be quite honest, like I used to have like a certain way I had to do everything and listen to certain music, not a certain song. Well, yeah, certain songs and stuff between 2 hours, that 2 hour to 1 hour window before the game, and then between the hour to game time with another set of songs, like different playlists and stuff. But personally, I guess me, as I've gotten older, and more confident in my game in the league and stuff, I just think that I just do whatever my body is calling me to do on game day. So you realize, if your body feels good, if your body's going to produce, for your body to produce, it just has to feel good. So if it wants some calm music right before the game, you give it calm music. If it wants some headbanging, whoop everybody's tail music, then you give it that, right? There's during the week I have certain routines that are in my rehab schedule, my massages, my cryo, whatever it may be to get me prepared. But that, again, I have certain meals that I'm interested in. I usually eat, I usually only eat breakfast on game days. Even if it's a night game, I'll eat breakfast twice. But again, I've even changed that up. Sometimes my body's like, nah, I want this. Okay, hey, I'm not going to argue with you, right? I need you to produce for me. So, you learn not to fight the body.
So this is a two-part question I've got for you, right? This is a bit of a personal question I have. First and foremost, how do you prepare for a guy like Tom Brady, right? I got to ask you that. How do you prepare for a guy like Tom Brady? And the second part to that question is, who would you say is the hardest running back in the league that you've had to play against?
Nice. Two great questions. For a guy like Tom Brady, to be quite honest with you, you prepare the same that you prepared with everyone else. I think it depends on your preparation habits. So that's the first trick to this question is if you always prepare correctly, then you prepare this exact same. So one of the things that we would talk about last year, for example, is like Tom Brady prepares the exact same whether he's playing the Packers and Aaron Rodgers or the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson or the Bengals and Dalton or when Peyton Manning was in there. Tom Brady's preparation is Tom Brady's preparation, right? He's not worried about the other side. He is worried about the scheme and the X's and O's, but his preparation and he realizes that on Sunday it's about him and what he can control, right? Like I can't control the plays that Tom Brady called or that Belichick and them call, right? I can just control my preparation, understanding the schemes, understanding who I'm going against, understanding the personnel, understanding what they might run from this standpoint, understanding that Tom Brady is Tom Brady, right? There's certain things about him that he's going to be clutch. He's going to make plays. So guess what? We can't give him those. Can't even let him have clutch situations, right?
Absolutely.
So that's how I would answer that question. And then from a running back standpoint, I've had to go against. Adrian Peterson, he wasn't in his quote-unquote prime at the time, but I remember one of my first years active tackling him on a goal line, and I was just like, wow, I just tackled Adrian Peterson, right? Like, that's not a fanboy at that point in time, but just like, we're in the middle of the game, but I'm just like, that was just a big reflection moment of the journey and all that type of stuff, right? So I think that was a cool moment for myself. But running backs at this point, they're so athletic and it's all over the place. You have the people out there who have the names, right? But then you also have the guys who come out of nowhere and they're just great. Phillip Lindsay from the Broncos last year was one of the top running backs. Kareem Hunt, right? Like, these guys, Philip Lindsay, for example, like came out of nowhere and was awesome. And there's a lot of guys in the league like that. So, you always have to be prepared because any running back can become great or become a meme or become a highlight reel off of you if you're not prepared properly and you're sleeping, right? So
Rutgers had some, and I know Austin has a bunch of questions, but Rutgers had some running back that broke out earlier this season by the name of Gus Edwards, and nobody knew where this guy came from. I know I was down in Baltimore covering the Bengals Ravens game, and he absolutely trampled Cincinnati's defense. But speaking to what when you say running backs come out of nowhere, they definitely can. I think that's why it always comes down to who's the freshest at the end of the season, especially. But.
Right, 100%.
Yeah. So the final topic we want to talk about just a little bit is outside of football. The funny thing is that when we were prepping for this interview, I Googled, just Brandon Copeland. The first 5 articles that come up have nothing to do with football.
Football, yeah.
There's CNBC, Business Insider, UPenn teaching and all this stuff. No ESPN or NFL. And that's just because you've done so much work from the business standpoint and everything. So can you talk a little bit about, your interests outside of football? There's this article going around LinkedIn and everything about how you save your salary and how you're financially responsible. And then can you also talk about how this year you went back to teaching and you're teaching financial literacy at your alma mater. So can you talk about the business side and then also your education plans as well?
Yeah, no, I think that the fact that you can Google my name and like you said, see a bunch of articles that have nothing to do with football, I think that's a pretty I didn't realize that's a pretty proud moment right there for myself personally. I hope by September or October this year now I'll do some great things on the football field and that'll take over the Google search at that point in time. But
we'll take care of that.
Be able, right, to be able to do that in the off season is pretty special for me as a player, and one of the things I'm always explaining to guys in the locker room, and even just myself, obviously I've sat out of the NFL, and you want your identity and who you are as a person to be bigger than an adjective football player, right? Or something that describes your job title, right? So in everything that I do, whether it's my football camp back at home, I remember we started that. We're going into year 4, and I'm getting a little off topic, but we're going into year 4. And for me personally, I remember starting it, and it was right after the year I sat out of the league, and I was just like, I have to build this so strong so that I can always come back and do this, and the kids will want to come out to my camp, and they don't care whether I'm playing football or not, right? And we've done that, which is pretty cool to say, right? We started with 147 kids, and now we're having 400 to 500 come this year, and it's free and all that type of stuff. And again, I translate that to the football journey and me just maxing out my platform, right? I understand that I'm an individual first. I was here before football, before the NFL, took over my life and all that type of stuff. And I love the NFL. I love the platform, and I love going out on Sundays and working people and just being able to get paid to be a violent human being. But then I also enjoy helping people, and not necessarily, I won't necessarily say teaching people as backwards as that sounds, but I enjoy providing access to information for people. And I'm using my life as a way to prove to people, or not even prove, to show people that, hey, you can do this too. So everything I do, whether it's real estate, whether it's this financial literacy class, it's really just providing information to people because I'm doing it in a way that makes them feel comfortable that they can do it too. There's so many people out there, when you ask them what they do, they give you a whole dissertation, and they make you feel, you walk away from the conversation like, dang, like, I can never do this, right? This dude is a rocket scientist, right? Like, and he's really just flipping houses, right? Which is, it has its sciencey portions and parts, but everybody wants to make their job seem hard as opposed to inviting other people in and encouraging people to say, hey, you can do this too, and this is a way that you can add passive income to yourself and your family and change your life, and not be so dependent on your primary employer. So,
Absolutely.
So that for me is my goal, right? Is to, one, provide that information, and then just two, I'm also just a person that I'm chasing my own version of freedom. And again, I've sat out of the NFL. I remember sitting out year 2, and I was just like, damn, like I can't depend on the Detroit Lions or the Baltimore Ravens or the Tennessee Titans or the New York Jets to provide for myself and my family for the rest of my life, which I knew. Yeah. But again, when you're 23 years old and in the prime, you know, your prime age, physically, you know, you don't picture yourself at that point not being paid by one of those people. So
for sure,
for me, again, it's just been a hustle to not only build my own empire and create this version of freedom for myself, but then also to share the information while doing it. Because there's a lot of people out here who write their tell-all books at the age of 50. However, I know that a bunch of their peers, a bunch of the people who were their friends are probably looking at that person like, why the hell didn't you tell me that when we were all 25, 26?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me when you were taking those chances? Because guess what? Maybe I would have taken those with you.
Absolutely.
And if you ask people in my friend group, then they I'm not lying when I offer that. Like, I offer that to my friends and family. I offer them the opportunity to invest and to learn and all of that type of stuff because, again, one, I'm just a vessel, but two, you don't have to, right? Like, everybody has their own risk preference, but again, for me, it's just we're all learning together. We're learning on the fly. And the difference with me offering you an opportunity to invest as opposed to other people, and again, I'm not soliciting investments or anything like that. Like, I'm not going around the locker room looking for people to invest with me or anything. But guys know I do real estate, so they want to do some real estate deals, right?
I believe you do real estate with Calvin Johnson, right?
We've done some stuff together. We've worked with.
Awesome.
We've done some stuff together. They're on to some bigger and better things right now. So we'll be working together. I actually just went out and visited them. They're doing some amazing stuff out there. You should definitely look at what they're doing with Locker Room Consulting Group.
That's awesome.
They're doing some crazy things in with grow houses and all of that stuff, and they're going to be huge in that market. And they're ready. They're primed. They have everything ready to go. So, but for me, I'm coming to you. If you're investing with me, I have more money in the project than you do, right? Like, as opposed to me, you know, a lot of these guys, they meet people who are like, hey, like, can you invest with me? And okay, well, how much do you have invested? Well, you know, I kind of need you to fund the whole thing, right? Well, no, that's not.
Yeah.
that doesn't sound like it's a mutually beneficial agreement right there, right?
Absolutely.
That sounds like me helping you. So again, I'm not sure if I even answered your question, to be quite honest with you, but that's my vision, that's my goal, and that's what I'm trying to build.
You definitely did answer the question, and I for me, being a man of faith as well, Brandon, I talked to. I want to give a huge shout out, by the way, to a good buddy of yours, Dave Twomley, who helped set this interview up. Dave's the man. Dave is the man. Yeah. He's a very intellectual dude and great guy.
Don't pump his ego up. Don't pump his ego up. No, I'm joking. That's my brother right there. We actually have Bible study tonight.
I know that was my next. That was my next thing. I think it's huge because to me you've taken on the approach of. It reminds me almost of what LeBron said. The whole more than an athlete approach. Like you have your hands in different endeavors outside of football because, like you said, that this can't sustain you and your family forever. And I think that's so important for a lot of these young athletes. If we do have anyone who is listening, definitely adhere to Brandon's advice. Brandon, I know you're like I said, I know you're very, very big into your faith, and I know you and Dave have a prayer group, and I think that's really, really awesome. I told Dave I was going to get out to one of those too, by the way.
Nice.
Another thing I wanted to say, Brandon's very, very involved with the youth. Brandon, if you want to, for the last bit of the show, if you want to talk a little bit about your football camp that you've got coming up that the Right Way Sports Network is absolutely head over heels to be covering.
Nice, man. Yeah, I can't wait for you guys to check it out and see what the quote-unquote hype is all about. But as Booby Miles said, hype is something that's not real. You know, we're all real. We throw a free youth football camp back in my hometown of Baltimore for kids ages 11 through 17. What we try to do is literally football is the last thing that I care about. We have a bunch of NFL players. We have people come out. We do autographs, all that type of stuff at the end of the camp. But football is really the draw to get you there, get kids there. At this point, I think the kids will come there without any NFL players showing up because they've seen it and they understand what we're doing is bigger than football.
Absolutely.
However, again, now we're in year 4, so now they know. But what we do is we pair our kids up with role models, and role models look like guys like Dave, you know, who you know, but Dave is a friend of mine, former teammate of mine, a salesman, great person, great personality, great heart, has a great story, great role model for these kids. We pair all these kids up with role models who can then be with them throughout the day, encourage them throughout the day, push them through drills and all that type of stuff. But really the goal for me is for a kid to leave my camp and say, hey, like, you know, I'd love to play in the NFL, and that'd be great. Like, being like Brandon Copeland would be cool, but if not, like, I'd love to be like Dave Twomley. I'd love to be like Dave Twomley regardless, right? Like, he's a great person, great role model. He's doing his thing. He's a professional, yada, yada, yada. So we try to do things organically to get kids excited about professions and careers. And to speak to your point about more than an athlete, right, one of the things that I always put in the kids' ear is like, hey, like, I would be pretty miserable if I just played football for the rest of my life, like, personally.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I love football. I love it, right? Like, I love it. So I don't want anybody taking me wrong. Oh, Brandon Copeland doesn't care about football. No, I love it, right? I love that this is my job. However, if I literally had to do this every single day for the rest of my life, I would be bored, right? Like, I need something else, right? There's something else that you have to be interested in, whether it's your family, whether it's, you know, church, whether it's camp, giving back, whatever, real estate. Like, I just act on my other interests. And that's what I'm trying to encourage these kids to understand. It's like, it's not you're not a failure to care and be passionate about something else outside of a sport, right? Like, you can only train and work out for a certain amount of hours in a day. There's other time to be interested in stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Where I tell my coaches, while other people are playing Fortnite, I'm on the phone, like, figuring out contractors and handling business, right? Like, that's just what drives me. So, again, our camp is great. We make the kids actually, like, participate in community service. So we have a community service event within a community service event, which is pretty cool. We have a bunch of book bags and toiletry kits that the kids actually put together. We're doing 1,000 of each this year.
That's right.
We've grown that number from 500. And, you know, we make the kids do that.
Yeah.
We make the kids do that so that they feel and understand that, hey, they can give back at any age. You don't have to say, you know, you don't have to give back in money. You can give back in time and effort. Right, so they feel what it feels like to give back to their community, and we get them encouraged about being lights in their own community.
Absolutely, and I think that's huge. Brandon, I want to thank you so much for coming on to today's podcast, man. I've taken a lot away from this conversation, as I'm sure Austin has. We're absolutely head over heels to have had you on. We look forward to seeing you actually in about a couple of weeks now, from a couple of weeks. To be down in Baltimore covering your camp with you. I hope that you'll continue to support the Right Way Sports Network as we continue to support you and your brand. We're like I said, we're just absolutely excited for you, your future. Excited for you, your season coming up with the Jets and the baby that you do have on the way, man. Absolutely excited for you. So with that being said, Brandon, thank you. I want to thank you again for coming on behalf of all our listeners, on behalf of the Right Way Sports Network. Can't wait to see you soon. We'll be in touch.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me. Good luck to you all, and I'll see you in a few weeks.
Absolutely, Brandon.
Thanks,
we'll
Brandon.
see you soon. Bye-bye. Guys, that was New York Jets starting linebacker Brandon Copeland. Absolutely awesome to have him on today's podcast. Dropped a lot of insight, dropped a lot of knowledge, and yeah, like I said, I came away from that conversation just inspired just now. For you young kids who are listening, you definitely are. You definitely can be more than an athlete. Although, you do have like the God-gifted abilities to pursue athletics. Just know that you can, your mind can go way further than you can, you ever imagine sometimes. With that being said,
and Malik, I just think he's, I think he personifies truly what a student athlete is. I think oftentimes, especially, with the one and dones in the NBA or athletes just kind of just skating through education. And listen, like if you're an athlete and you think that's the best for your brand, do what you have to do. I'm not criticizing that. In fact, I think you want to do what's best for your health and your prosperity and your family. Mm-hmm. That being said, I think what Brandon did at UPenn and getting educated and knowing exactly what he wanted to do in life and how he's at every NFL team, he's had his adventures and what he's doing outside and how he's giving back to the community and he's getting other people involved in his life. And he's not waiting till, like he said, till he's 50 to write an autobiography. He wants to get people involved now in his life to bring other people up as well with him. And I think he's truly remarkable. And, I think that's the thing. There's a lot of great athletes out there that truly are, like you said, like LeBron mentioned, more than an athlete. I think guys like Brandon deserve more media coverage because they not only make the sport look good, but they also make their college look good, their hometown look good, and just their own overall brand. They're showing that, I'm more than just what I do on Sundays for a couple hours. During the week, I'm giving back to my community, and that's huge.
And like I said, I can tell by the way we're talking about it. I know you and I were excited to go down to those football camp already, but we're even more excited. Absolutely after getting to talk to the man. So it was absolutely awesome. Thank you so much again, Brandon, for coming onto the podcast, and we will see you in a couple of weeks, my friend. With that being said, Austin, we got a couple of announcements to make. I'm gonna let you take it away, man. We got a lot of big things going on at the Right Weight Network for the rest of the summer. We're going to be bringing in a couple new people. We're going to be opening up some new different ventures within the Right Weight Network in terms of new sports that we're going to be covering. There's a rumor that maybe we'll be looking into esports or something in the realm. We might be going somewhere there as well. I watched soccer today for the first time in years, so maybe that'll be on the route. But besides, listen, Liverpool did something pretty cool. Okay, they were down 3-0 or something. It's that's the equivalent like the Warriors and LeBron or whatever. So, anyways, but now we have a lot going on. We've been really trying to grow our Twitter platform as well. Our Instagram has been steadily growing over the last couple months. This will be on LinkedIn as well for Brandon to check out because, like I said, Brandon's just as big on NFL.com and ESPN as he is on LinkedIn. Business professionals love the guy, so we're trying to expand on that platform as well. And then we have a ton of golf articles that will be coming up. We'll be traveling a little bit over the summer, Travelers Championship. And then we'll be going to Liberty National in Jersey City for the first round of the playoffs as well, the Northern Trust. Tiger Woods is in the mix. We'll hopefully try to catch him again at some point. We will be covering the PGA Championship. We won't be at we just got an email from Brandon, but we will not be at that page back, but we will be covering it each day. So our golf team has a lot to do. But Malik, I think there's more from an NFL standpoint that we're doing as well. We're going to be going to a couple of camps this year. Am I right? Absolutely. I'm head over heels. So we got a little bit of breaking news to announce, guys. We officially will be going to the Cincinnati Bengals players football camp as well. I will be at the A.J. Green and Joe Mixon football camp coming up in a couple of weeks from now. It's going to be the June 8th and June 9th. I'll be headed out to Cincinnati. Second week in June, I'll be headed out to Cincinnati, getting some, interviewing the guys and asking tons of different questions for all you Bengals fanatics out there as well. I'm absolutely excited. We'll be covering a lot more football this upcoming season and a lot more interviews in the work, guys. Tons of interviews. I hope that you guys continue to follow us live on Instagram at The Right Way Sports Network, on Twitter at The Right Way Net, on Facebook at The Right Way Sports Network. Shoot me over an email at MalikWright@gmail.com or MalikWright at The Right Way
Thursday
Sports
right
Net. I know, serious throwbacks, right?
TBT.
Yeah. Listen, people definitely, they should miss us on air together. We were absolutely great on air together. Jake, you took my guy, man. I need him back on air with me. I really do. We need to make it happen again.
Nah.
But, guys, with that being said, thank you guys for being avid listeners to tonight's podcast. We've got tons of content coming out for you guys. A lot of stuff I don't even want to actually go into because I don't want to speak too soon. But we've got tons of interviews coming up. You know, I might be working on an interview for some of you New York Giants fans, so maybe you guys can hear from the man Daniel Jones himself and kind of get him to, you know, kind of get acclimated to him. But hey, I don't want to speak too soon. Listen, I'm working on interviews with a lot of players.
And
right?
Hang on, you didn't mention last week too. Last week you talked to Jacksonville Jaguars assistant trainer. Correct?
Last week we talked to former Jacksonville Jaguars athletic trainer and former Minnesota Vikings athletic trainer Lionel Rice. He was absolute awesome for the podcast.
That's on the website as well. You can check that out. Yep.
Absolutely, and he's now the athletic trainer for UTSA football. And I have a buddy there, Cole Carter, who goes to UTSA football. So I know that he's absolutely excited, head over heels, to have Lionel on staff as well. So I mean, we got tons of different things going on, but like I said, none of this is possible without you guys. None of it is possible without you guys. So we appreciate you guys being avid listeners. To our fans, our family, we appreciate you guys continuing to support the brand for the past 5 years. And, you know, we haven't been on air for quite some time, but, you know, we just reached our 1 year anniversary of being a business. So we're absolutely excited about it. And like I said, we're planning to be the future of this thing that they call the sports news industry by giving you guys the truth as far as coverage goes. So I want to thank you guys again for listening into the Right Way podcast. I want to thank Oz for coming on, and you know, it was an absolute treat to have share this moment with all you guys. But as always, guys, the show will forever and always go on. Have a great night, everyone.
Have a great night, guys.
Lay.
Kane is in the building.
Already the show goes on all night. Every morning we dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the thunder? Just remember when you come up, the show goes on. Alright, already the show goes on all night. Every morning we dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the thunder? Just remember when you come up, the show goes on. Have you ever had the feeling that you was being had? Don't that shit make you mad? They treat you like a slave, put chains all on your soul and put whips up on your back. They be lying through they teeth, hope you slip up off your path. I don't switch up, I just laugh, put my kicks up on they desk, unaffected by they threats. Then get busy on they see, that's how that shut down made me. That's how my daddy raised me. That glittering may not be gold, don't let nobody play me. If you are my homeboy, you never have to pay me. Go and put your hands up, when times is hard you stand up. LUP the man, cause the brand that the fans trust. So even if they ban us, they'll never slow my plans up. Already the show goes on all night. Till the morning we dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the thunder? Remember when you come up, the show goes on. Alright, already the show goes on all night. Till the morning we dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the thunder? Remember when you come up, the show goes on. One in the air for the people ain't here. Two in the air for the father that's there. Three in the air for the kids in the ghetto. Four for the kids that don't wanna be there. None for the trying to hold him back. Five in the air for the teacher not scared to tell those kids that's living in the ghetto that the holding back that the world is theirs. Yeah, the world is yours. I was once that little boy, terrified of the world. Now I'm on a world tour. I will give up everything, even start a world war for these ghetto girls and boys. I'm rapping around the world for Africa to New York, Haiti then I detour, Oakland out to Auckland, got the strip to Detroit. They hip hop only destroy. Tell them look at me, boy. I hope your son don't have a and never be a D-boy. Already the show goes on all night. Till the morning we dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the thunder? Just remember when you come up, the show goes on. Alright, already the show goes on all night. Till the morning we dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the thunder? Just remember when you come up, the show goes on. So no matter what you've been through, no matter what you into, no matter what you see. When you look outside your window, brown grass or green grass, picket fence or barbed wire, never ever put them down. You just lift your arms higher, raise them till your arms tired. Let them know you there, that you struggling, surviving, that you gon' persevere. Yeah, ain't nobody leaving, nobody